Life, culture and current events from a biblical perspective. 2020 with Neil Johnson on Vision.
You might recall we were talking just recently about something special that's happening this weekend. Well, this coming Sunday is called Sports Sunday, a day with churches where there's an encouragement to think about prayer and commitment to be a presence in the local sports community. Each week, about 14 million Australians are playing sport. Michael Pailthorpe is CEO of Sports Chaplains Australia and here to tell us a few things about what's happening for Sports Sunday. Michael, a special welcome back to 2020.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Neil, and great to be with you.
Michael, it's finals time. The AFL, the NRL, This is a great time to be focusing on sport. This is a different sort of a focus, though, isn't it?
It is, but when you watch some of the size of some of the crowds that we saw even last weekend, sport is back. Community sport's been back for a while, but it's certainly nice to see people able to flock to their favourite sporting finals, or obviously for the NRL, this will be the first week. But it's always exciting September because we call it the business end of the season. That's when, and of course, there'll be many community sporting clubs around Australia as well who will be also in their pointy end of the season as well. So it's always exciting. Spring, there's something special about September, I think, when it comes to sport.
And most of those big clubs that we're seeing on TV, they actually do have a sports chaplain. And so what you're saying in this focus for Sports Sunday is that every small club around the country needs a sports chaplain too.
Yes, well, you're right. The vast majority of all the AFL and the NRL clubs and a lot of those big clubs that we see certainly have chaplains who are working away there behind the scenes. Quite often they're not in the crowd. They're having the conversations in the change rooms while everyone else is watching the game. But yes, there's 70,000 sports clubs around Australia. So, there's plenty of opportunity to serve and certainly any of those sports, any of the football codes or basketball or netball or cricket or motorsports and life-saving, they all are very favourable to sports chaplains. They all have sports chaplains. So, that's really the big opportunity for us to go and be Christ to all those communities that are gathered around Australia every weekend.
And I know it's more than just the players. It's all the parents, if it's children's sport, or it's all of the supporters as well. The chaplain plays a really fabulous role, but come back to the players for a moment, because there's elation in winning and there's devastation in defeat. So I imagine the sports chaplain has a real role to play when the emotions are like roller coasters.
Yes, and one of the things we say is that at the end of the day, it's nice to win the game, but ultimately it's about winning in life, and being able to handle the ups and the downs, and not everyone can win every time. There's always got to be a winner and a loser, and I actually think that's one of the great things about sport, that you get to learn that growing up, that hey, you have a good day, you have a bad day, but the sun comes up next day. Part of what we do as our chaplains is we bring perspective to the winning side. Now, obviously, if you're at the absolute elite level, and we just saw the Commonwealth Games not that long ago, just a 1/100th of a second can make the difference. But at the end of the day, it's about the person. And so, one of our approaches is that regardless of what happens on the field, well done. Yeah, well done. Sometimes it's just getting in there and having a crack and, say, fronting up next day is, and that sort of encouragement goes such a long way. And just, it's not who you are. It's maybe it was a good day or a bad day today, but it's not who you are. So, we can just bring that perspective to people's lives that otherwise might feel, gee, sort of catastrophic language you sometimes hear around a loss. Well, at the end of the day, it's a game of sport. So, keep it in perspective.
Michael, when you're a Christian chaplain, how open with your faith are you able to be? I mean, there are words that are spoken. there are actions taken. Give us an idea of how the chaplain conducts themselves when they're a part of a sports club.
Well, one of our sayings is we are proactively pastorally caring, and we're responsibly spiritually caring. So in other words, as we go about our pastoral care, which could be anything at all, invariably that provides opportunities for people to ask us questions around matters of faith. So we always find if we lead that way, then we're being invited into the space to have that conversation. And we certainly discovered that because potentially a lot of those people in our sporting community, some of them are generationally unchurched, not just unchurched, generationally unchurched. So that it doesn't occur to them, or they don't necessarily, going to church probably isn't something that they're just going to do, because that would be a significant jump. But if you're a chaplain who is in place and they get to know who you are, I mean, I've had it myself many, many times, and they'll come up to you and say, look, I hope you don't mind, I didn't know who to ask. Can I ask you this? And it will be something around a faith-related matter, because they literally don't know who to ask, and you are the one who is there. And it's quite amazing how many times you'll get people who'll just sidle alongside you and just ask a question like that. And maybe it's not immediately, but they might be going through a tough time in their life, or could be any number of things which triggers that conversation. But that's why we say that the first step is presence, being present. Just show up and care. And if you do that, it's amazing what can come from that.
In church, we often say the mission field is outside of the church building. What about the sports field? As you say, it starts with being a presence, and I can hear you also saying this is an opportunity to serve the community. And when you're serving, that's where opportunities to share faith come.
Yes, and we sort of just literally have our little tagline, just get in the game. You get in the game yourself. So, we have a lot of a large percentage of our church community are literally standing on the sidelines of sporting all sorts of fields and courts every weekend. So they're there. I mean, some of them are coaching and some of them are umpiring and some of them are playing, but there's a whole heap of people as well who are just on the sidelines watching as parents or as, partners or whatever it might be. So, there's that opportunity to be that proactive presence and say, look, hey, if I were to become a chaplain here, all of a sudden, it's almost like we're saying we're open for business. We're open for discussion, and come talk to me about anything that you'd like to talk about. And, so we've found that's been, it's a very, very easy way to get engaged in serving and in ministry. You don't have to quit your job, don't have to travel overseas. There was a bit of training, but it's a pretty easy way to sort of get in the game of, hey, we want to be intentional about what we're doing here from the ministry perspective.
I'm a Christian and I might love my community and love my sport. Family members might even be members of sporting teams. How do I know that I would make a great sports chaplain? Is there something about my character or something gifted in me that would make me want to say I'm going to be a sports chaplain?
Yeah, well, we say there's three basic things. Love God, love people, and love sport. And if you do those three things, and even the third one, you don't necessarily have to love the sport, but you do have to love the sporting environment, so which really comes out of loving God and loving people. That'll just give you a heart for the people around you who you just happen to be located in that same proximity because either it's your children or you yourselves have an interest in that particular activity. So really, that's as difficult as it gets. So if you can tick off and say that those three things, and the next step is then to make some initial inquiries, do our orientation training, and decide, hey, is this something that might work for me? And if that is the case, then you can do our advanced training, etc., and then ultimately become a chaplain. But I think a lot of people would say I can't do it, and this is where we are mindful that some of our chaplains, especially those that operate in that elite space, many of those are pastors, and obviously that's a different there's a different set of skills around that at that elite level. But at the local community level, it's just, at the end of the day, it's virtually always made up of volunteers. The coach will be volunteering, and the managers and things will be volunteering. So why not have a volunteer chaplain? And people don't expect you to have a theology degree, but they just say, hey, you're a Christian, who cares? And you're a Christian who's being prepared to be active in our community. So, yeah, it's not difficult, and we've found all the people that I know that have done it have all said best thing I've ever done. And people do walk the journey with you, and obviously you want people praying for you and your local church supporting you and all that. But as I say, love God, love people, love sport, and they're about the three criteria that we got to start with.
Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot here at all, but question without notice. A lot of sport happens on a Sunday. The attitudes of pastors, are they happy for people in church life to actually not be at church on Sunday and be out there actively being a minister, a servant, a listening ear, a representative of their church at a sports club on a Sunday?
Look, what would you rather? Would you rather be reaching your community, but you don't want people? You still want people grounded in their local church, and that is a big thing for us. All of our chaplains come out of churches, so and we tend to find that generally it's not an either or. Occasionally there might be a clash for a time, but if you're engaged in a home group and you're engaged in a small group, and people are praying for you, so you're very much the missionary from the church. If the church takes that view, that's very, very different, I think it's just about our pastors having the view of a kingdom mentality that, yes, we need to be doing what we're doing on Sundays, but gee, if we can outreach to the community on Sunday as well, isn't that even better, So,
and sometimes bigger churches, perhaps a little more flexible, and you can do all of this opportunity taking as something you can coordinate with your pastor. In some sense, it's a little bit like you're an extension of the work of your church, the extension of the work of your pastor, if you're out serving in the community. Hey, time's running out for our conversation, but this coming Sunday is Sports Sunday. So what are you hoping will happen in churches?
Yeah, so we've got, 80 churches already around the country have signed up for us, which is awesome. So, and if you go onto sportschaplaincy.com.au, you can still sign up and say, look, even at this late stage, hey, we want to pray. We want to pray for the work of our chaplains. We want to pray for people in sport. That the kingdom would come into that environment. So it's really just about some of our other churches. We've got chaplains being interviewed, and we've got video material that we're showing about just how we go about it. So, we certainly, if your church is involved, that's awesome. But if not, why not just include in whatever the message is for the service, just stopping and praying specifically for the local sporting clubs around your community, the local leaders of it, people in your congregation who are involved in that opportunity would arise. So I think if we can be praying for our people in sport and for our sporting communities, that's really what we're trying to do. Just make it clear to everybody that it's just a wonderful opportunity where people are gathering, Australians are gathering, and we actually have a wonderful open door to come and be present and share with those people.
A wonderful opportunity, and to be thinking about this now, to have that even as part of lots of church services that will happen this coming Sunday. A focus on sports chaplaincy. Wonderful insights. Michael Pailthorpe is CEO of Sports Chaplaincy Australia. Let's give that website. You might want to write this one down to find out how to get on that pathway to becoming a sports chaplain in your community. sportschaplaincy.com.au. That's sportschaplaincy.com.au. Michael, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts and your heart with us today on 2020.
Love the opportunity, Neil. Great to speak with you, and thanks again so much.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.